voices. Good. Well, good morning, and first Sunday of 2018, welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles. If you're joining us in person and online, we're happy to have you here and welcome you to, once again, our first Sunday celebration service. So we're a metaphysical, New Thought spiritual community, and we welcome all facets and all aspects of life into our spiritual home, whether that be in person, via live stream, whether you're watching it live or later. The vision statement for our spiritual community is supporting individuals as they find their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. What this means is that we honor you on your path and your journey of your awakening to the power of the divine that resides within you. Today, you will hear some terminology that may be new to you, such as spiritual mind treatment, and we refer to God as an impersonal indwelling presence that exists equally across the universe and is often referred to as the one power. And you'll hear later in my message this morning that the premise and the principles of our metaphysical teaching is that Jesus was the example and not the exception. So I wanted to address that to all of us this morning as we come together and kick off a new year. I want you to know that we welcome in our spiritual community all races, all religions, all countries of origin, all sexual orientations, all genders, all ethnicities, all abilities, all sentient beings, three-legged, four-legged, two-legged, six-legged, whatever the case may be. We want you to know that we stand with you as an expression of the divine in all of its glory. Our goal is to honor the beings of life as they walk the pathway, finding personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening, as long as their intent and purpose is not to demean or hurt others. So as our beloved Dr. Walker used to say to us as we would begin each Sunday morning in every service, welcome one and welcome all. If you're joining us via live stream, we want to say hello to those of you back there in camera land that are joining us, and happy to have them here. Everybody ready to kick off CSL LA 2018? Yeah. Wow, I love it. That was a great response. You're mighty in energy and voice. I truly appreciate that. Well, we open our service every Sunday morning with a ritual. It's called Calling in the Light, and the purpose of this ritual is to anchor into our psyche and our soul and our being the oneness of life itself that exists by means of us. You will hear as a continuum this morning and through the month of January the aspect of oneness that exists within us, and how do we activate that and live from that place. This ritual that we are moved into for the beginning of our service and every Sunday morning is led by our practitioner of the day, and we have an individual who lights our beautiful candles that go along with it, as well as it's a call and response song for us to sing along with the song at the beginning as well as in the end. The purpose of it, once again, is for us to anchor ourselves in who we know ourselves to be as spiritual beings. With us kicking off a new calendar year, I invite you to open yourselves up to receive in this ritual something anew for you, knowing who you are as a divine being in a new way. I'd like to welcome to the Bema our practitioner of the day, Reverend Lenore Edney, and I would like to bring our illuminator up, which is Jesus Ernesto Reese, as well as our musicians we have here, Andy Belling, who is asking if he's multiplied, and let's choose to believe he is in his oneness.
Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love, calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love.
The ritual we perform this morning is called Calling in the Light. We perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, and all sentient beings come from the one, all-abiding presence, which we call Spirit. The purpose of this ritual is to draw into our gathering this morning a conscious awareness of the oneness, our oneness, and the qualities we possess as complete expressions of the divine. And as Jesus lights the first candle, it is lit for the quality of peace. In this way, we honor our inherent divine state of inner calm, regardless of any seeming chaos unfolding around or within us. The second candle is illuminated for the quality of power, the power we acknowledge as the energy by which everything exists. The third candle is lit for the quality of beauty. Beauty is a personal expression by which high spiritual qualities are made manifest. Jesus illuminates the fourth candle for the quality of joy. And joy is the state of being that is excited by the expectancy and experience of good. And the fifth candle is lit as a remembrance of light. Light is the symbol of divine intelligence. The sixth candle is lit for all life. Life is that which is defined as the animating principle of being, that inner something that makes everything live. Jesus illuminates the seventh candle for the quality of love. And love is defined as the self-givingness of spirit, the desire of life to express itself by giving of itself. The eighth candle is lit for the quality of wisdom. The key to wisdom is the concept of unity, which is the mystical secret of the ages. The final candle we illuminate is for the healing candle. Please take a moment and think of someone you would like to silently put into the light of the healing flame to experience the eternal and everlasting love of the divine. And let us remember each and every person in this room, each and every person in this congregation, each and every person watching on any sort of device, knowing that each of us is the magnificence, vibration of life itself.
I am love. I am love. I am peace. In my heart, I am free. I am spirit. I am soul. All together, we are whole. Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love. Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is.
So I invite you to join me in affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment. And as we sit together in this room, we acknowledge the givingness of nature, that which is the divine made manifest right here and right now, as perfect health, as financial prosperity, as loving relationships, of all the good, the expressingness that we each are, being our own self, Spirit made manifest. And right here and right now, we proclaim this brand new beginning, this brand new year, for each of us to show up as love, vitality, vibrance, joy, wisdom, light, all the attributes we have just made mention of. And we acknowledge and know for each other that as we walk our separate paths, we are holding each other's hands in the knowingness that it is a love, that it is love alone that allows us to express from within that spiritual nature that is us, as us, and through us, ourselves. In great gratitude, we say yes for the abundance of vitality, physical well-being, all the good that there is that we're ready to accept individually and collectively as this beautiful congregation, as this beautiful spiritual community. We give thanks for the musicians. We give thanks for Dr. Keith. We give thanks for each and every practitioner, ministers, for all the volunteers. We call it all good. We call it all God. And we let it be. And by saying, and so it is, and so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Lenore. And Jesus, thank you, Reverend Lenore. And I apologize to those on that side of the room that when I walk by, my shoes squeak so loudly. So let's take a moment and use the energy that just was developed in this room and close our eyes for just 1 second, please. Not for just a second. Close your eyes. That always rolls off my tongue. And the reason I'm having us do this is I want each and every one of us to begin to envision what the energy of perfect health looks like to us. We begin to see that energy of perfect health as it radiates inside our own body. Phlegm-free, coughing-free, sneezing-free, flu-free, and knowing as metaphysicians that our energy, knowing oneness and wholeness for ourselves and for others, must connect on that continuum of life itself. We begin to know that for anyone in this room that may have had an experience or an expression of that which seems opposite to that which we're declaring in this moment. We move that energy out beyond the four walls of this building, out into those in the peripheral that we can see with our human eye in the city of Los Angeles. As we continue to know truth of the perfection of there is only perfect health, we see it moving beyond the city of Los Angeles, out through the state of California, and beyond, and beyond, and beyond, declaring that perfect health exists for humanity in this moment, that we are not subject to anyone's opinions, that humans must have discord, dis-ease, or flu-like symptoms. We declare this to be true as we say together, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. And so for any of you that may continue to cough or sneeze, know that that's okay. You are just releasing the toxins that you need to be released out of your body. As those are released in this tight quarters of a room where there may be heat or air conditioning on, know that you bless it as it passes by your being. Good? All right, cool. So on that note, we have a great song by the one and only Jamie Lula that's going to take us on another journey of awakening our minds. And I welcome Jamie Lula, along with Andy Belling.
So I've been part of this teaching for about 24 years. there's part of this that, like in so many things, I felt like I had to be perfect in order to meet God. Growing up Catholic, I know none of you can relate. And I just always felt less than, and I just felt like I just wasn't able to meet. So this song kind of answers that for me. It's a cry, it's a calling. God, just allow me to be exactly who I am, where I am, right here, right now. Know that it's perfect, whole, and complete. Oh, naked, I'm naked. You can't see me. Naked, Lord, I'm naked. You can't see me. 'Cause I've been hiding behind my garbage. Hiding behind my garbage. Naked, Lord, I'm naked. You can't see me. Frozen, I've been frozen in my history. Frozen, I've been frozen in my history. But I've been thawing in your love light. Thawing in your love light. Frozen, I've been frozen in my history. Oh, dying, I've been dying to what I've been. Oh, dying, I've been dying to what I've been. But I've been rising like Jesus showed me. Rising like Jesus showed me. Dying, I've been dying to what I've been. Oh Lord, use me. Oh, won't you use me? Oh, use me right where I am right now, right here, Lord. Naked, Lord, I'm naked. Can you use me? Naked, Lord, I'm naked. Will you use me? Because I've been hiding and I've been frozen. Dying, but I've been rising. Naked, Lord, I'm naked. Will you use me? Oh, naked, Lord, I'm naked. Will you use me? Oh, naked, Lord, I'm naked. Well, you using me, oh, 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 using me, use me.
Beautiful. Jamie Lula and Andy Belling. I love that concept. If you can move beyond in our own minds for ourselves what we attribute to the physical nakedness and look at it from a spiritual perspective, it really awakens each and every one of us to ask ourselves, are we walking our pathway, releasing ourselves from the garbage of the past and dying to that. It's a perfect segue into what I'm speaking about this morning, and I'm going to dive right into it. The science of mind offers us the passion for a new possibility, along with the precise and clear directions for building a new matrix of mind and manifestation. Now, this is from the foreword of the book, The Science of Mind, which was written by Jean Houston. This is the book itself. Now, many of you are probably familiar with this particular book. Anyone in the room familiar with this book? I see some of you have it. This particular book, which is known as The Science of Mind, which addresses the philosophy and the faith and the way of life known as the science of mind, shows us how to activate the constructive imagination and how to hold in thought and feeling the intention and energy for healing, holing, W-H-O-L-I-N-G, and co-creation. I'm going to read that to us again. The science of mind shows us how to activate the constructive imagination and how to hold in thought and feeling the intention and energy for healing, holing, and co-creation. Evolution, it writes, is seen to follow involution, wherein we discover that our minds are stargates. Our bodies are celled of mysteries that then give us the keys to the emerging phase of our existence. So take a moment and ask yourself where you are on the journey of evolution as it regards to the involution, in other words, placing upon the law of life what has been taking place in your life, so that you may discover that your mind, which is also known as the mind of God, is a stargate. It's a place for passageway of the star, of everything that which illuminates the universe. And that your physical body is celled of mystery. And that these combined give us the key to the emerging phase of our existence. Take a moment and let yourself think of what it feels like, and to know that right now you're in the emerging phase of your existence. Individually, as well as we are in the emerging phase of our existence of humanity. That's a big idea, don't you think? But also a stimulating idea. Ernest Holmes, as Jean Houston writes, and how many of you in the room know Jean Houston or know of her? Well, she is a trippy, stargazing chick. All right? So know from that perspective that she lives on that outer existence of the emerging phase of the evolution of humanity and individuality all the time. She writes, and I've had lunch with her a couple of times and have gotten to know her, and I do not use those terms loosely when I say a trippy chick. It's with great reverence and respect. She goes on to write that Ernest Holmes, the author and founder of The Science of Mind, was one of the first to direct us to what is to be found in the vast ecology of inner space. The vast ecology of inner space. So take a moment and just connect with that which exists within you of inner space. She goes on to write the book, The Science of Mind, which presents the foundation for the teaching of the science of mind, was written in what some may believe to have been a simpler time, 1920s, 1930s, would you think that was probably a simpler time? Nobody had a mobile device in their hand for sure, right? And she says that of this writing to have been a simpler time, this work speaks to a future, more complex time as well. In other words, it was written in a very simple time while speaking of that which is to come. Although Holmes' use of language belongs to the 1920s and 30s, the ideas expressed remain larger than the constraint of words and even more relevant to today's necessity. She goes on to write, "We have no choice then but to democratize greatness and utilize the whole continuum of human and divine potential." Now that too is a big statement, but take it in again. We have no choice then, once we're aware of what's taking place through the writings of Ernest Holmes and realizing that our goal in life is to play in that realm of the ecology of inner space and to make a point and to be searching at all times for what is our purpose on life, but to then democratize greatness. In other words, put into order greatness in life itself. And then utilize the whole continuum, meaning using the wholeness of life itself and the infinite nature of life itself, of human and divine potential. She goes on to write, "The science of mind says that this is not only possible of us, it's what is expected of us. It's what is expected of us to democratize greatness, utilize the whole continuum of human and divine potential. Indeed, it is that for which we have been created." Now, I'll trust that you will agree with me that this information from Jean Houston, simply in the foreword of this great book, The Science of Mind, is intense, correct? Also oddly stimulating, correct? And deeply stirring, correct? And incredibly freeing. I choose to believe, I really do, that this information is intense, oddly stimulating, and deeply stirring, and incredibly freeing. What she's telling us here is on this journey of life itself, to be on this journey of awakening ourselves, as we say every Sunday morning here, to a spiritual awakening, and in so doing, finding personal self-empowerment. She's telling us in this foreword to do what I've been talking to us about for the last year and a half, which is to find that balance of awakening our spirituality through being empowered as an individual while dancing the dance between our humanity and our divinity. By tapping into at all times and understanding that the divinity that we individualize is vast by nature, that there's no way ever that we can comprehend the allness of that which it is, and yet at the same time what we're called to do is to comprehend to the level that we can comprehend it, the vastness of it. And that the only way to do that is by playing with it. It's by taking it in from an emotional perspective, from an intellectual perspective, from a spiritual perspective, and then regurgitate that back out in a way through our actions and reactions and interactions with lives and our thoughts and our beliefs as we interact with humanity. And then as we see what takes place with that which we have now put out into the law of life, that's the involution part, that we will get to see where we are on the continuum of evolution because we get to experience life itself. That's what she's telling us to do there, is to play on an inner space level and trusting that we'll experience that playfulness in form. Because the humanity of life exists, and the only way that we can check into where we are in the understanding of the divinity of life is through the experiences that we have with our fellow humans. She goes on to write, as she closes the foreword, "These are the times, we are the people, this is the book that can help us do it." Now that's a big calling, would you not agree? And why is now the time? Well, now is the time because each and every single one of us in this room know that what she's telling us is indeed true. Would you not agree that you know with every fiber of your being, no matter how much it may be scaring the bejesus out of you, that now is the time to know who you are as a divine being in a greater way than ever before, and that just knowing it is not enough. It is not enough. You must engage that knowingness with every thought and action and reaction and interaction without judgment, and then sit back and ask yourself, how am I doing? Am I doing okay? Am I living life well? Am I engaged with humanity? Am I giving that which I am in a good way? Am I propagating goodness in my world and the world itself? And if not, once again, do your best to not have any judgment and start anew. That's what she's telling us here, is that we have all had experiences long enough to know that this stuff works. But it's time to move beyond the cerebralness, if you will, of knowing it. So today I'm kicking off for us, much like what's taking place in centers or communities around the globe, mostly in North America, as Centers for Spiritual Living, who follow the teachings of the Science of Mind, by beginning with chapter 1 of the book known as The Science of Mind. I love this part of the book, and I hope that each and every one of you do as well, because it's really the cornerstone for this teaching. The first 4 chapters are the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. And if you are like me and you were grown or raised in a traditional church, just simply hearing the power of God called the thing itself is freeing us up to a new approach to the vast ecology of inner space. Would you agree? Because now where I came from, and where I'm sure many of us came from, that within itself is considered blasphemous. But what it does for us is it gives us the ability and the permission to label this power in a way that is the spiritual truth about it, which is impersonal. And in so doing, let go of any concept whatsoever that it is a deity, and just look at it as a ball of energy, a field of energy, an existence of that which it is, and open our minds to an evolutionary process of defining the power itself. Now, if you're here for the first time and you're hearing this information for the first time, I invite you to open your mind, open your soul, open your being to being receptive and trusting that you're here today to hear what you are called to hear. And if you've heard this chapter before, I invite you to open your mind, your soul, and your being to be receptive and trusting that you are here to hear what you are called to hear. I state this in this manner because no matter how many times you've heard the presentation of the first chapter of this book called The Thing Itself, whether it's the 15th time or the 150th time, it's important for you to know that you haven't met it or heard it or received it with the consciousness that you have in this very moment. In this very moment. Take a moment and flash back over all the years that you've heard this or been in class, and ask yourself, are you happy to be in this moment? And I'm sure the answer is yes, and then what that speaks to is that you are an evolutionary being. And so take a moment and embrace the spiritual truth of being an evolutionary being in this moment, and then give yourself permission and instruction to continue to expand from an evolutionary perspective. Houston tells us, as I stated before, that evolution is seen to follow involution. In other words, it's a result of us doing the work that we're called here to do. And that in so doing, we discover that our minds are stargates, our bodies are cells of mysteries, and we've been given the keys to the emerging phase of existence. Well, what does all that mean in the context of the teaching of the science of mind and the thing itself? Well, here's what Ernie writes in the very first paragraph. We all look forward to the day when science and religion shall walk hand in hand through the visible to the invisible. And I'm sure for many years you've read that as we all look forward to the day when science and religion shall walk hand in hand through the invisible to the visible. But what he's telling us in this very moment is to do what Gene Houston told us, which is to go into that vast ecology of inner space and play in that realm. To go beyond the physical and become metaphysical, which is the teaching that we have here in the science of mind. And then to go in, and he goes on to say that science knows nothing of opinion, but recognizes a government of law whose principles are universal. Now this, as we know, this day of going from the visible to the invisible is true in the 21st century. Almost 100 years later than when this book was published and he started the writing. Holmes is speaking of religion in this context, not necessarily as organized religion. He's speaking of this in the context of conscious spiritual practice. It's of coming together consciously to look at the nature of life itself. And we now know, as conscious metaphysicians that are evolved beings walking this planet, that that which he was calling for between religion and science indeed has begun. It's here. That day is here. Because we all know that there are studies and books written, etc., regarding the use of the power of mind and mental healing along with science, i.e. medicine, Western medical practices. It doesn't seem far-fetched for these two to walk hand in hand. I know that there are many of you in this room right now that have either had surgeries or are about to have surgeries or have been to the doctor or witnessed what I carried us through earlier of science of mind, a spiritual mind treatment, where not at one point in that spiritual mind treatment did I say, do not take NyQuil. We don't say don't eat the stuff. Just this morning I was making elixirs, they were homeopathic in the back, for Erwin and for Bob. Only because I've walked that path this week, and I finally said, to heck with the homeopathy, I'm drinking Dayquil and NyQuil and putting Vicks VapoRub on my chest, right? Now, why was I doing that? Because we understand in the modern world that it is time to take that. And as you rub spiritual vapor rub on your chest, while you're doing that, you're saying, I am one with that which it is. And healing is transpiring as I am revealing and expunging the toxins in my body. That the wisdom of the divine that exists within me says, go to CVS and get Vicks VapoRub. That's what he's telling us is going to happen in the 21st century. As opposed to sitting back and going, I can heal. Can you heal? Yes. And part of that healing is getting off your butt and going to CVS while still doing the spiritual mind treatment, while still sitting in the steam room, while still calling a practitioner, while still getting rest, while still questioning what you're eating and aligning yourself with that, while still potentially taking penicillin in pill form and penicillin in cocktail form. They all go hand in hand. Why is that the case? Because there's only one thing ever taking place: the activity of God. That's moving it from a cerebral activity into one where we allow it to be our spiritual truth. We not only just embrace it, but we enact it, we engage in it, and then we call it forth. That is that is the involution part. And we get to see where we're at on the pathway of evolution by asking ourselves, am I healed? Well, so much better today than I was on Friday and Thursday. So what does that tell me as a conscious metaphysician? That this stuff works. And I know for each one of us today that we know that it works because we've had these experiences. Well, how then do we begin to train our minds, which is what we're being called to do, to know that we are walking, breathing, sometimes hacking, coughing, living, sneezing, singing, speaking, full expressions of the thing itself? Well, Holmes tells us that the way to do that is by seeing abundance in the universe. By seeing abundance. That doesn't just mean coins, boys and girls. What that means is that there is enough of everything that is required for us to express our wholeness, our completeness, our divinity. There's enough of it to go around for all of us. There's enough perfect health for us to be healthy. There's enough. He says we must see that first and foremost. We can't count the grains of sand on a single beach. That the earth contains untold riches and the very air is vibrant with power. Why then is the human weak, poor, and afraid? He says the science of mind deals with these questions because the divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. Well, what does it mean then if we are in bondage? It means that we're enslaved to a consciousness of old ideas and a paradigm of beliefs that have been given to us at some point that we've ascribed to either consciously or sometimes unconsciously, and they're being made manifest through our lives. How do we know that? Because we know within us, from an intuitive perspective and sometimes even a practical perspective, that we're not living a life that is reflective of our divinity. Well, what do we know as the reflection of our divinity? What would be a life of divinity? Well, I'm going to do it, and I know you guys hate it when I do it. I don't know if you hate it or not. But it's a life of peace, power, beauty, joy, light, life, love, and wisdom. If we're living a life balanced with those pieces of the puzzle of life, then we're living our wholeness. And we know when we're not living those. And so if we're choosing to live a life of anything that's contradictory to these, then we are enslaved to an old idea, to an old paradigm, to something in consciousness that is telling us we are not worthy of the abundance of life itself. Well, how then do we develop that consciousness of an abundant life? Well, he tells us in the book that we do it by knowing that the great love of the universe, the power of God, whose desire is to create more of itself out of itself and can only do that through us, must be one with the great law of its own being. And that we approach love through the law. Then this teaching is known as the teaching of love and law. We must create a mindset to know that the love of God is perfect and the law of God is perfect. If you don't like that word, God, don't use it. But don't not use your teaching because of an attachment to a word. Create a new word that makes you comfortable with the power itself. Use the concept of understanding that the thing itself exists by both its expression of itself and the law of itself. He goes on to write, we must understand both. And I don't think we need to understand it both. But what I do think we need to do is at least accept it as truth. We need to accept in this teaching as truth that the God, the life, the thing itself is one of perfection, and the law that brings forth through us is the same perfection. And we need to know that at all times it's working through us. That it responds impersonally and does its part. I have a quick story that I want to tell you that I think exemplifies this so that we get a greater understanding of the way that the law of life works. A lady goes to see her priest one day and tells him, Father, I have a problem. I have 2 female parrots, but they only know how to say one thing. Well, what do they say? The priest inquired. They say, hi, we are hookers. Do you want to have some fun? It's not going to be bad, so just trust it, all right? Isn't that awful? The woman laments. That's obscene, the priest exclaimed. Then he thought for a moment, I may have a solution to your problem. I have 2 male parrots who talk, and I've taught them to pray and read the Bible. Bring your 2 parrots over to my house, and we'll put them in the cage with Francis and Job. My parents can teach your female parrots to praise and worship God, and your parents are sure to stop saying that indecent phrase. Well, thank you, the woman responded. What a wonderful solution. The next day, the woman brought her female parrots to the priest's house. As he ushered the woman in, she saw that his 2 male parrots, Francis and Job, were inside their cage holding rosary beads and actually praying. Their pious little faces were upturned toward heaven with beaks moving slightly as they prayed intently to the Lord, or the thing itself. Very impressed, the woman walked over and placed her parrots inside the cage with these very devout parrots. After a few minutes, sure enough, the female parrots cried out in unison, hi, we're hookers. Do you want to have some fun? A long moment of silence ensued. Shocked, one male parrot looked over at the other male parrot and exclaimed, put the beads away, Frank. Our prayers have been answered. I share that with you this morning not to kick the year off with a possibly discolored joke, but to exemplify to each and every one of us that the law of life is always working. It's always working. And our job in the co-creative process is to open our minds so as to be the stargates they are. To know our bodies are celled of mystery, but not mystery that is completely unexplainable. To know that the nature of our body is to constantly be releasing that which is in alignment with its divine nature. And that sometimes that's not fun, but it doesn't change its truth. And that we're here to be evolving conscious beings. That's why we are here. And the only way that we know we are evolving is by the life that's showing up in experiential form. And the only way that we can look at that and see and know if it's good or not is by doing the work itself of knowing that there's only one thing ever taking place. And that's the activity of the thing itself through you and through me. And that we have the opportunity this morning to allow the only thing to have dominion over ourselves are thoughts that know that these truths are self-evident through us by our actions, our thoughts, our beliefs, and our reactions in life. And if we don't like what we're experiencing, we have the opportunity to change our thinking and change our thinking and change our thinking. Thank you. You're up.
I'm up.
That was a good joke. Our prayers have been answered. This is a song that I wrote with my songwriting partner, Gary Lynn Floyd. We go out as Floyd Lula. I'm not my story, I'm not my song. Been seeking glory my whole life long. Been on my own since I was born. A badge of less than I have worn. I've fallen down, I bled my knees, stumbled on life's mediocrities, wordless without a prayer, or so I thought. The battles that I won I never lost. I'm not my story, I'm not my song. Been seeking glory my whole life long. Been on my own since I was born. A badge of less than I have worn. I've been judging me as much as you. Seeking surrender, haven't found the key. Beaten, battered, broken, living blue. I will forgive myself and see my truth. I'm not my story, I'm not my song. I've been seeking glory my whole life long. On my own since I was born. A badge of less than I have worn. Oh, bless this evolution, conscious contribution. Only one solution. It's love, it's love, it's love, it's love. Bless this evolution, conscious contribution. is love, it's love, it's love, it's love. This is my story, this is my song. I've been bound for glory my whole life long. I've been lifted up since I was born. The Holy Spirit has taken form. Oh, this is my story, this is my song. I've been bound for glory my whole life long. I've been lifted up since I was born. The Holy Spirit has taken form. Oh, bless this evolution, conscious contribution. Only one solution is love, is love, it's love, it's love. Bless this evolution, a conscious contribution. Only one solution is love, it's love, it's love, it's love. This is my story, this is my song. I've been bound for glory my whole life long. I've been lifted up since I was born. The Holy Spirit has taken form. The Holy Spirit has taken form. The Holy Spirit.
Thank you, Jamie and Andy. Thank you, so beautiful. Jamie has CDs for sale outside if you guys would like to acquire them and express your abundance through that process. If we can have our ushers come forward, please. Now is the time for our conscious giving. As a spiritual community, we thrive on the conscious giving of our participants and our congregants, and it's an opportunity for each of us on both a weekly basis and monthly basis and annual basis to give of that abundance as we see and the grains of sand that multiply for us and through us in the universe. And so now is the time to do that. If you give and do that by check or credit card, we track that in the office so that you'll get a report at the end of the year, or an envelope if you write your name on that. And at the end of the year, you will get a list of your non-taxable donations through the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. Did I say that correctly? Did that make sense? Okay, we're going to all say yes, it did. Okay, so now's the chance to give. So take your giving. Your opportunities for giving is through the cash, check, credit card if you want to see Reverend Edward, and or through the app in the App Store, CSL LA app. There's a space for donate there, or our website, which is csl-la.org. Click on home, which will take you to the donate page, and you can donate, which is how I did. Take your contribution and place it to your heart if you feel so compelled, because the heart is a symbol for love. And repeat after me, please. Conscious giving heals all fear. It awakens and enlivens my awareness that I am one with an abundant universe. I give with love. And know. And know that I know that it absolutely and unequivocally returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is.
'Tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the gift to be free, 'tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, it will be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed. To turn, turn will be our delight, till by turning, turning, we come round right.
Full. I love the word shot in there, yes. So let me give you some announcements. They're brief today. And if you are interested in taking, classes begin this Wednesday. We pick back up. It's a practical mysticism class. I'm so excited about teaching this class, and I know you can tell from today I rarely get excited. But I'm so excited about teaching this class. If you have any interest whatsoever in activating that conscious evolution that I spoke of today, this is the class to do it. We're moving into a realm of a variety of texts that's really looking at the mystical nature of the oneness of life and the divine sacredness of who we are as expressions of the divine. And so it starts this Wednesday night at 7:15. Right now, we've got 18 to 20 people signed up, so it'll probably be in this room. We'd love to get that up to 25 or 30. If you're interested, and many of you have sent me emails, please see Edward in the back. Check to make sure your name is on the list if you're interested, and if you want to add your name to the list, please present him with your name and your email address, and I'll send you the information that you need regarding the books you'll need to purchase for the class itself. Starting this Wednesday at 7:15 p.m., and it's $22 per class. If you have any questions on that, please feel free to see me in the back. Our Wednesday morning meditation continues this week. You can get that information from our website and or our weekly e-newsletter. If you are not receiving our new newsletter and you'd like to do so, please complete this form, and Reverend Edward has that at the table as well, or whoever's sitting at the table can get you that information. A huge thank you to our musicians this morning, Andy Belling and Jamie Lula. A big thank you to our practitioner of the day, Reverend Lenore Edney. You can see Reverend Lenore later if you have any practitioner needs, and you can talk to her about that, as well as thank you, Jesus Ernesto Ruiz, for not only illuminating the candles, but for setup today. And a big thank you to Bob Zielinski as well for setup today. So thank you to these guys. And our board member on duty today is Gary Bond. Gary's right back there, so feel free to see Gary in the corner if you would like to address anything or talk to him with some constructive advice regarding our service. And I think that's it. There are beautiful flour, F-L-O-U-R, not F-L-O-W-E-R, which we're happy to share today, but flour products with some goopy stuff on them that you're more than welcome to eat back there with caffeine in its liquid form. So avail yourself of that and enjoy community. I'm really looking forward to this calendar year 2018. If you're here for the first time today, welcome. For those of you that are regulars, welcome, and I look forward to us continuing to grow together in the year 2018. Our board has a retreat in February, and we're looking forward to creating some exciting things for us going forward. So I think that's it. Everything in order. Everybody good? So there's one quick thing we want to do before we close, and we have someone in the room who is ageless and timeless, but yet she's chronicling a birthday today. It's Sherry Bazanis. We're going to do a quick happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sherry. Happy birthday to you. Welcome. There was one announcement that I forgot to make. You've heard me announce that on Fridays we have a dance class with the one and only Walter Painter and his beloved wife Charlene. They're here with us today. Wave them. A big thank you for the class that you do on Friday. I believe John started that class, right, John McLean, with you, and it's about igniting the spirit within through dance. Did I get that right? Well, let me tell you, I've been taking it. I've missed the last two, but I can't wait to get back to this Friday. If you have any interest in taking from these beautiful beings who just share their soul and their light and dance and are hugely known as being great professionals and acknowledged and celebrated in your field, come join us at 11:30 on Highland Avenue at the dance company. 817 North Highland. Hollywood Dance Center. That's what I was trying to say. Yes, and that also is in our weekly newsletter. Yes, Glenn.
It's a great class even when you're a senior.
It's a great class even when you're a senior. And it's a great class even when you're not. So it's a fun class. Huh? No, it's jazz.
It's for to understand the spirit of what makes so rewarding to just do it.
11:30. It's in our e-newsletter. You're more than welcome to ask Walter and Charlene more questions in the back. It's a fun time. It's a fun time. You also get to open your body up and do some kicks. So know that that's it. Let's close with a spiritual mind treatment, knowing that the laughter and joy that we're sharing in this moment is a reflection of who we know ourselves to be as the wholeness of the divine. That's who we are, both individually and collectively, as humanity and as a community. Today is the day that we covenant and commit together, as well as individually, to embrace the thing itself in a new way. To choose to evolve in a conscious way by opening our minds to be a stargate even more. What that means to us is we're opening ourselves up to inviting in not only an awareness, but a conscious engagement of the infiniteness that exists within us as life. That we bless our bodies, knowing that yes, they are mysterious in their cellular activity, but also knowing that they respond to that which we place upon it through mind. And so what we call upon for ourselves is the perfection of health, ease and grace with mobility, knowing that all of our muscles and every fiber of our fibers of our being are working in order and in sync with their nature. That we let go of any ideology or old paradigms around age, and we align ourselves with that which is ageless, which is the power that exists within us. And so today is the day that we move forward. We move forward, appreciating both the love of life and the law of life. And we use both as the oneness that they are, with direction, with purpose, with intention, and consciously placing our attention on it as it's being made manifest through us. Good exists by means of us, and to that